A racist police officer gets into a confrontation with a black man outside a luxury store, leading to the officer punching the black man and arresting him. Afterwards, he realizes that he has just arrested and assaulted the mayor. Michael Trent stood under the soft glow of a street lamp, adjusting his suit jacket as he waited outside the boutique. The store had been closed for hours, its darkened windows reflecting the empty street. He glanced at his phone, growing impatient as the minutes ticked by. Joshua, his assistant, was running late again. He leaned against the window, checking the street for any sign of Joshua's car, when the heavy sound of approaching footsteps drew his attention. "Hey!" a voice barked sharply. Michael looked up, seeing a white police officer walking towards him, his hand resting firmly on his belt. The officer's gaze was sharp, filled with suspicion, as he sized up Michael from head to toe. Michael recognized the posture, the look. He dealt with it before. "What are you doing here?" the officer demanded, his tone more accusatory than curious. Michael straightened, instinctively slipping his phone back into his pocket. "I'm just waiting for someone," he said evenly. The officer stopped a few feet away, his eyes narrowing. "Waiting at this time of night outside a closed shop?" "That's right," Michael replied calmly. "My ride is running late." The officer's gaze hardened. "Doesn't look right to me. You sure you're not loitering? Maybe up to something else?" Michael felt a flicker of annoyance rise in his chest, but he kept his face composed. "I'm not loitering. I'm just standing here waiting for a ride. Nothing more." The officer's lips curled into a half-smile, though it carried no warmth. "Standing around in a suit, huh? What's the occasion? Trying to make yourself look important?" Michael met his gaze, irritation sparking, but he kept his voice steady. "I'm just waiting, officer. There's nothing else going on here." The officer took a step closer, his presence growing more imposing. "Doesn't seem like that to me. You don't exactly blend in around here. You sure you're not trying to break into something?" Michael felt his pulse quicken. "There's no need for accusations. I'm not breaking into anything. I told you I'm waiting for a ride." The officer didn't move, his eyes locked on Michael. "You got any ID on you?" Michael's jaw tightened. "I don't need to show you my ID. I'm not doing anything wrong." The officer's expression darkened. "You don't get to decide that. When I ask for ID, you show it. Or is there something you're hiding?" Michael took a deep breath, the frustration now hard to keep in check. "I've told you what I'm doing, and that should be enough. There's no reason for this to go any further." The officer's stance shifted. "I decide how far this goes, not you. And right now you're giving me a lot of reasons to keep asking questions." Michael clenched his fists, trying to keep his cool. "There's no need for this. I'm not a threat, and I'm not breaking any laws. I'm just waiting." The officer stepped closer, his body now just inches from Michael's. "Funny how you keep saying that, but I'm not convinced. In fact, I'm starting to think you don't belong here at all." Michael's patience was wearing thin. "I have every right to be here." The officer smirked. "We'll see about that. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you until I'm satisfied." Minutes stretched as the officer continued to hover. Michael knew this wasn't over, not yet. The officer's hand rested firmly on his belt. "I'll be watching," he muttered, his tone low and threatening. Michael stood firm, his body tense as the officer refused to back off. "I've explained myself," Michael said, his voice controlled. "I'm just waiting for someone. There's no reason for this." The officer took a step closer. "I don't care what you've said. Something about you just doesn't sit right with me." Michael clenched his fists but kept them at his sides. "What doesn't sit right? The fact that I'm standing here in a suit, or the fact that you don't think I belong here?" The officer's eyes flashed with anger. "Watch your tone. I'm the one asking questions, not you." "You're questioning me for no reason," Michael said. "You've been standing here for 10 minutes. If I were doing something wrong, you'd have figured it out by now." The officer's face twisted into a smirk. "Oh, I figured plenty out. Guys like you always think you're too smart to get caught. You think I don't see this for what it is, loitering, looking for a chance to break into a place like this." Michael couldn't hold back any longer. "Loitering? That's what you think this is? I'm waiting for my assistant, that's it. You've been standing here harassing me, and now you're looking for any excuse to make it worse." The officer's smirk vanished, replaced by a hardened glare. "Harassing you? I'm doing my job, keeping people like you from causing trouble in places like this." Michael stepped forward, his voice cold. "People like me? What exactly do you mean by that?" "You know damn well what I mean," the officer snapped. "You think you're slick standing here all calm like you're innocent, but I've seen this before. A suit doesn't change who you are." Michael's heart pounded in his chest. "You don't know a thing about who I am." "I know enough," the officer shot back. You're just another punk who thinks he can talk his way out of trouble. Michael took a deep breath. I haven't done anything wrong. You're the one trying to create trouble where there isn't any. The officer's hand moved toward his cuffs. You're real close to stepping over the line. And what line is that? Michael asked. The line where I stop letting you bully me for standing on a public sidewalk. The officer's grip tightened on the cuffs. You think you're smart, huh? I've got the authority here, not you. Michael's blood boiled. Authority doesn't give you the right to harass people for no reason. The officer stepped forward now inches from Michael's face. I don't need a reason if I feel threatened. And right now, I don't like the way you're talking to me. Michael could feel the situation spiraling. You feel threatened? I'm standing here unarmed waiting for a ride, and you're the one threatening to arrest me. That's not how this works. The officer's jaw clenched. I'll decide how this works. You're done talking. Michael squared his shoulders. I'm not done until you stop treating me like a criminal. The officer's eyes blazed with fury. That's it. You're under arrest. Michael's heart pounded as he watched the officer's hand move toward him. Michael's heart raced as the officer grabbed for the cuffs. He couldn't let this happen, not like this. Instinctively, he took a step back, his hands raised. You can't do this, he said, his voice sharp. I haven't done anything wrong. The officer's eyes flared. You just crossed the line. Don't resist. Michael jerked his arm away. I'm not resisting, but you're not arresting me for no reason. The officer's face twisted with frustration, his hand shooting out again. He caught Michael by the wrist, pulling him forward with a rough yank. You think you're above the law? Think again. Michael tried to pull free. Get off me. The officer's patience snapped. You want to resist? Fine. He shoved Michael hard against the boutique window. The glass rattled from the impact. Michael's shoulders slammed into the cold surface. I said get off. He struggled to twist free. The officer leaned in close, pressing Michael harder against the window. I told you to stop resisting, the officer growled. Michael's breath came in short bursts. I'm not resisting. You're the one pushing this too far. Without warning, the officer swung his fist. The punch landed squarely on Michael's jaw, a hard, brutal impact. His head snapped to the side, pain exploding across his face as he stumbled against the window. Michael gasped, his hand instinctively going to his face. You just had to push it, the officer muttered. He grabbed Michael again, this time slamming him face first into the glass. Now you're going to learn your lesson. Michael groaned as his chest pressed hard against the window. You can't do this, he panted. Watch me. The officer snarled as he wrenched Michael's arms behind his back. The cuffs clicked shut around his wrists. On the ground, the officer ordered, pulling him back and shoving him toward the pavement. Michael stumbled, barely managing to catch himself. He was panting now, his face throbbing. How had it come to this? Maybe next time you'll think twice about resisting arrest, the officer said. Michael looked up at him. You're going to regret this. The officer sneered. Not as much as you will. Michael felt the tight grip of the handcuffs as the officer pushed him toward the patrol car. The officer moved toward the car, opening the back door. Get in, he ordered. Michael didn't move. Instead, he straightened himself and with a quiet smile said, Before you throw me in that car, why don't you check my ID? The officer froze. What are you talking about? Michael's smile grew. You heard me. Check my ID. It's in my wallet. The officer hesitated. You've had plenty of time to give me your ID. Now you want to cooperate. Michael met his gaze. Check it. You're going to want to know who you've just cuffed before this gets worse for you. The officer's confidence faltered. Fine. Let's see what you've got. He reached into Michael's pocket and pulled out his wallet. For a moment, he squinted at the ID, but as he processed the information, the color drained from his face. His eyes darted from the ID back to Michael. That's right, Michael said. I'm the mayor of this city. The officer's face went pale. He looked back at the ID as if hoping it would change. The realization hit him hard. His hands trembled as he fumbled with the cuffs. Sir, I didn't know. I didn't realize. Michael cut him off. You didn't realize because you assumed. You let your prejudice blind you, and now you're in a situation you can't talk your way out of. The officer's face flushed with embarrassment as he hurriedly unlocked the cuffs. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean. Michael's voice rose. You didn't mean to punch me? You didn't mean to throw me up against that window and treat me like a criminal? The officer stumbled over his words. Sir, I thought you were. You thought. Michael snapped. That's the problem. You didn't think. You saw me standing here, and because I didn't fit into your idea of who should be in this neighborhood, you decided I was a threat. That's what you did. The officer stammered, backing up. Sir, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You didn't mean for it to go this far. Michael's voice was cold. This is exactly what happens when you let your bias dictate your actions. You're supposed to serve and protect, not assault and profile. The officer swallowed hard. I made a mistake. A mistake? Michael's voice was low. You think that's going to fix this? You think an apology is enough to make up for what you just did? Michael took a step back. I want your badge number now. The officer fumbled to provide the number. Michael took out his phone, jotting it down before looking the officer in the eye. You'll be hearing from me again. And next time you won't be getting off so easily. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving the officer standing there paralyzed with fear and regret. Michael walked briskly down the street, his mind racing ahead. This wasn't just personal, it was a symptom of a much larger problem. And after tonight, that change was going to happen one way or another. Michael pulled out his phone and dialed. Joshua, Michael said. I need you to meet me at City Hall now. What happened? Joshua's voice came through confused. I'll explain when you get there. Just get there as soon as you can. By the time he reached City Hall, Joshua was already waiting. What happened? You sounded off on the phone. Michael sighed. I was harassed and assaulted by one of our own officers tonight. I was almost arrested. Joshua's eyes widened. What? Are you serious? Michael nodded. Dead serious. He didn't know who I was, just assumed I was up to no good because I was standing in a rich part of town at night. Joshua shook his head. I don't even know what to say. What are we going to do? We're going to act, Michael said firmly. I'm done letting this kind of thing slide. First, we're filing a formal complaint. I have his badge number. Then we're taking this up with the police chief. I'm going to make sure this officer faces the consequences. And beyond that, this is going to be the catalyst. I've been pushing for reform for months, but now I have the leverage I need. We're going to take this public if we have to. Joshua nodded. I'm with you. Whatever you need. Good, Michael said. Because this isn't going to be easy. The department will push back and the officer will try to spin this. But we're not backing down. The next day, Michael walked into the police precinct. Joshua followed close behind. I'm here to see Chief Harland, Michael said firmly. Within minutes, Chief Harland appeared. His eyes quickly flicked to Michael's bruised jaw. Mr. Trent, Harland said. Come to my office. We need to discuss what happened. They reached his office and the door closed. I understand there was an incident last night, Harland said. Incident? Michael repeated. I was harassed and assaulted by one of your officers. I was nearly arrested for standing on a sidewalk, and you're calling it an incident. The door opened, and Officer Greg Mason walked in, his face pale. Officer Mason, Harland said. We need to clear this up. Mason sat down, unable to maintain eye contact. Michael took a step forward. Tell me, Officer Mason, what exactly were you thinking last night? Mason shifted uncomfortably. I didn't know who you were. I thought you thought. Michael interrupted. You thought you had the right to treat me like a criminal because I didn't fit your idea of who should be standing in that neighborhood. You didn't care about the truth. Harland turned to Mason. Officer Mason, you're aware that this behavior is unacceptable. Mason's eyes flicked between them. I made a mistake. I thought he was. I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't care to find out, Michael said. You let your prejudice dictate your actions, and when I called you out, you responded with violence. Mason swallowed. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't going to fix this, Michael said. You need to understand what you did. You violated your oath. Harland nodded. Officer Mason, you've crossed a line. I've already placed you on suspension pending an internal investigation. Michael turned to Harland. This isn't just about one officer's behavior. This is about a culture in your department. He didn't see me as a person. He saw me as a threat. That's a systemic issue that needs to be addressed now. Harland's face tightened. I understand your frustration, Mr. Trent, and I'm committed to addressing this. Michael crossed his arms. Addressing it? This needs more than just an internal investigation. This needs to be public. People need to know that this department is taking real steps to reform. I want a full report made public. Transparency, accountability. Harland kept his tone measured. We'll make sure the investigation is thorough. Michael took a step closer. This is bigger than one incident, Chief. This is about the future of this department. If real reforms don't happen, I'll make sure the public knows what's going on. This city deserves better. Harland held Michael's gaze before finally nodding. Understood. Michael turned to Mason one last time. You thought you could get away with this because you assumed you had all the power. But now you know you don't. and there will be consequences for your actions." Without another word, Michael turned and left. As they exited, Joshua said, "Do you think they'll follow through?" "They'll have to," Michael said. "This isn't something they can sweep under the rug." Within hours, Michael held a press conference. The media gathered, cameras flashing. "Good afternoon," Michael began. "I've called this press conference to address an incident that occurred last night involving one of our city's police officers and myself." The crowd stirred. "Last night, I was standing outside a store waiting for a ride when I was approached by an officer on patrol. Despite my calm explanation, the officer became increasingly aggressive. He made assumptions about who I was and why I was there." Michael paused. "He accused me of loitering, of being up to no good simply because I didn't fit his idea of who should be in that neighborhood. When I calmly tried to explain, the situation escalated. He punched me, handcuffed me, and was about to throw me in the back of his patrol car." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "At no point did I resist," Michael continued. "I was calm, clear, and respectful. But that didn't matter. What mattered to him was what he saw when he looked at me. He saw a threat, and he acted on that assumption." Michael glanced at Joshua. "It wasn't until I told him to check my ID that he realized who I was. At that moment, everything changed. The panic set in. He uncuffed me, stammering apologies. But the mistake wasn't just about me. This is about the systemic issues in our police department." He leaned forward. "This isn't just about one officer. It's about a culture that allows these assumptions to be made. It's about a system that allows people to be treated as suspects based on their appearance rather than their actions." The crowd was silent. "There will be a full investigation, and I will personally ensure transparency. But this is bigger than one incident. This is about making real, lasting changes. I've been fighting for police reform for years, and last night I experienced firsthand why that fight is necessary." Reporters began shouting questions. Michael held up his hand. "There will be more to say as the investigation moves forward. But let me make one thing clear. This is not the end. This is the beginning of real change. I will not stop until every person in this city can trust that they will be treated fairly and with respect." As Michael walked back into City Hall, he felt the weight of leadership. But he also felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was the moment he had been waiting for. Days passed. Michael sat in his office. The phone had been ringing nonstop. Joshua entered. "You've been getting a lot of attention. Social media is buzzing." Michael sighed. "Good. We need to keep the pressure on. I want people to understand how serious this is." "I've spoken to some community leaders," Joshua said. "They're ready to support you, but they want to know what reforms you'll be pushing for." Michael nodded. "We need to start with the investigation into Mason. But that's just the first step. We need real systemic changes, more oversight, better training, and stricter accountability measures." There was a knock on the door. "Mr. Trent, the police chief, is here to see you." Michael nodded. "Send him in." Chief Harland entered. "Mr. Trent," Harland began, "I've seen the coverage. I understand why you felt the need to go public, but we need to discuss how we move forward." Michael leaned forward. "What's there to discuss?" "The officer's actions were inexcusable. The investigation needs to move quickly, and there must be consequences." Harland shifted. "I agree that Officer Mason's actions warrant investigation. We've already suspended him. But you understand that these things take time." Michael's expression hardened. "I'm not asking for a rushed judgment, Chief. I'm asking for accountability. The public needs to know that this is being handled transparently." Harland frowned. "I've served this department for over 30 years. I know the community's trust is fragile, but we also have to ensure we follow proper procedures." "Chief, this isn't just about procedures," Michael said. "This is about rebuilding trust. Officer Mason's actions are part of a larger problem, and you know it. I've had complaints come across my desk for years, and most go unaddressed." Harland's jaw clenched. "I'm aware of the issues, but sweeping changes can't happen overnight." "I'm not asking for overnight changes," Michael said. "But we can't sit on our hands. The time for small fixes is over. We need comprehensive reform, and we need it now." Harland nodded slowly. "What exactly are you proposing?" Michael sat back. "First, we need an independent oversight committee to review complaints. Second, mandatory de-escalation training for every officer with specific training on racial bias. Third, a public reporting system where residents can see the progress of complaints." Harland raised an eyebrow. "An independent oversight committee? You know the union will push back." "Let them push," Michael said. "But this is non-negotiable. People need to see accountability. Harlan sighed. You're asking for a lot. I'm asking for what's necessary, Michael replied. This isn't just about me. It's about ensuring this doesn't happen to anyone else. Harlan looked down. I understand your position. I'll bring this to the department. But you need to be prepared for a fight. Remember, Chief, Michael said quietly. The eyes of the city are on us right now. Don't let this opportunity slip away. Harlan paused. I won't. We're all in this together whether we like it or not. When Harlan left, Joshua exhaled. You think he'll actually go through with it? Michael rubbed his jaw. He'll have to. We've come too far. Joshua nodded. So what's next? Next we keep pushing, Michael said. We rally the community. We stay visible. We keep the pressure on until real reforms are in place. The following day, Michael moved his agenda forward. The press conference had sparked conversations throughout the city. Joshua entered. I've just gotten off the phone with a few council members. The public's backing your reforms, but there's pushback. Michael nodded. I expected that. Joshua sighed. Some council members in close ties with the police union are being cautious. We don't have time for cautious, Michael said. This isn't about politics. This is about real change. Within hours, Michael was in a packed meeting room. City council members sat on one side, police union representatives, and Chief Harlan on the other. The union president sat with his arms crossed. Michael cut to the chase. We're not here to debate the need for reform. The people have spoken. They want accountability. The system is broken, and we have an obligation to fix it. The union president shifted. Mayor Trent, we've always worked closely with the city, but some of these reforms will tie the hands of our officers. Michael leaned forward. This isn't about tying anyone's hands. It's about ensuring officers are held to standards. If accountability weakens your force, then that's a problem with the force, not the reforms. Harlan cleared his throat. We support improving training, but the oversight committee will cause friction. Officers will feel like they're constantly being second-guessed. Michael shot him a look. We're talking about people who don't trust your department to investigate fairly. The public needs a system they can believe in. Councilwoman Green leaned forward. I agree with the mayor. If the public can't trust the police to hold their own accountable, we'll never restore confidence. The union president's face reddened. You're not out there on the streets. Our officers are risking their lives every day. Michael's voice was cool. What I know is that this city can't afford another incident. Every day we delay, we're putting lives at risk. The room went silent. Harlan finally spoke. What exactly are you proposing? Michael listed the reforms swiftly. This isn't just about making the department look better. This is about making it better. The union president stood clearly furious. You're going to destroy morale. Michael didn't flinch. Morale isn't the issue when people are being unjustly harassed. The system will improve when officers who truly want to serve and protect can do so in a department that holds everyone accountable. After a long pause, a council member spoke up. We should take this to a vote. An hour later, the council agreed to move forward with Michael's reform package. As he left, Joshua caught up. Well, that wasn't easy, but we got what we needed. For now, Michael said. But the union's not going to take this lying down. Days passed. The investigation into Mason had stalled. Joshua entered looking frustrated. They're dragging their feet. The investigation should have been moving, but Harlan's people are tying it up in red tape. Michael clenched his jaw. I knew they'd stall. The community is getting restless. Joshua nodded. I've had calls all day. People are asking why the officer's name hasn't been released. Michael leaned back, weighing the options. I'm not waiting anymore. It's time to release the officer's name. Joshua's eyes widened. You're sure? The people deserve to know who was responsible, Michael said. They think they can hide behind procedure, but not anymore. Within an hour, Michael was at a podium. Good afternoon. We have been working on reforms, but the investigation into Officer Greg Mason has been repeatedly stalled. Enough is enough. The crowd quieted. I've waited patiently, but the delays have gone on long enough. Today, I'm releasing the name of the officer involved. His name is Greg Mason. A murmur rippled through the crowd. This isn't just about me. This is about accountability. The people deserve transparency. I want to make something else clear, he said. This is not just about one officer. This is about a system that has allowed officers like Mason to act without consequences. We are pushing for real reform, and I will not stop. Within hours, the media was flooded with stories about Mason. Protests began forming. But the biggest shock came that afternoon. Joshua burst in. Harlan just stepped down. Michael looked up. What? Chief Harlan resigned, Joshua repeated. He just made a statement saying he's stepping down effective immediately. Michael leaned back, processing the news. The department's in chaos, Joshua continued. The union's scrambling. Michael nodded slowly. Good. Now we move forward even faster. With Harlan gone, the department was vulnerable. The road ahead was still long, but for the first time real change felt within reach. With Harlan's resignation, Michael pushed forward. The next step would be the internal review board's decision on Mason. Joshua entered with an update. The review board's meeting is set for next week. I want in on that meeting, Michael said. Joshua blinked. You want to sit on the review board? That's exactly the problem, Michael replied. I've seen how internal investigations go. Not this time. I want to be in that room. By the next morning, Michael had formally requested to sit in. The backlash was immediate. The union president called it political overreach. But Michael didn't care. The public was on his side. The day arrived. Michael entered the conference room. Members of the review board sat around a table. Greg Mason sat at the end, his face pale. Captain Reynolds cleared his throat. Mayor Trent, I understand you've requested to observe today. Michael nodded. I'm here because the people demand accountability. I want to ensure this board makes the right decision. Reynolds looked uneasy. We're here to review Officer Mason's conduct. Michael leaned forward. With all due respect, this goes beyond typical matters. Mason didn't just violate procedure, he abused his authority. This isn't just about department policy. It's about the integrity of the entire force. Mason finally spoke. I did what I had to do. I was following my training. Michael turned his gaze. Your training didn't tell you to ignore what I was saying. This isn't about procedure. It's about your assumptions. Mason shifted. I've dealt with situations where someone says they're just waiting and ends up being a criminal. And you made the wrong call. Michael shot back. You made a call based on who I am, not what I was doing. The room fell silent. Reynolds reviewed the evidence against Mason. The case was overwhelming. Finally, Reynolds turned to Michael. Before we conclude, is there anything else you'd like to say? Michael stood. I've heard enough excuses. He's refused to take accountability. The people deserve better. They deserve a police force they can trust. Keeping Mason on this force would be a stain. He must be terminated. Mason scowled. You're making me out to be a monster. I was doing my job. If that's what you think your job is, then you should never have worn that badge, Michael replied coldly. An hour later, the board returned. Reynolds spoke clearly. After reviewing the evidence, the board has decided that Officer Greg Mason's actions were in violation of department policy. His conduct was unprofessional and unacceptable. Officer Mason is hereby terminated effective immediately. Michael felt relief but kept his expression neutral. Reynolds turned to Michael. Thank you for being here, Mayor Trent. Michael nodded. This was the right decision, but this is just the beginning. We need to continue pushing for reforms. As Michael left, Joshua met him. It's done. Mason's gone. Michael nodded. It's a victory, but there's still more to do. Joshua smiled. One battle at a time, Mike. Michael knew that while Mason was gone, the fight for real change had only just begun. This victory was significant, but there were still deep-rooted issues that needed to be addressed. The road to reform was long, but Michael was ready to lead the way.